Bruchim Habayim, good evening, welcome to the celebration of the graduation of the Post-Semicha contemporary course on contemporary halacha. From my personal experience, it was an unbelievable course, and I'm sure anyone that participated felt the same. And there were people that were involved in behind the scenes and not behind the scenes, and the evening will start off tonight with Rabbi Levin. First of all, on behalf of all the participants, I want to wish him a great yasher koyach for creating the program and putting it all together. Rabbi Levin, after spending a year with him, doesn't need much of an introduction, but he is a world-renowned Pesach and a Rav with a following all over the entire world. Throughout the course, it was very clear the amount of effort and time and energy that he put into this program to see it through and to give us the best shiurim possible, and the curriculum and everything that he invested in it. We see also how he was available on the forum for public questions, for private posts, and he took each shaila very seriously and gave detailed research response with Mar Mekamis and everything. And I think the effort that he put into this at the end of the program, I think we can say that it definitely has been a successful program, and it's definitely thanks to him. So on behalf of everyone, thank you. Rabbi Levin.
Rabbi Jacobson and the Yeshiva.net, which have been much, much more than just a home for our program. I would also like to extend a personal yasher koyach for the wonderful way in which Rabbi Jacobson has interacted with me over the course of the program. A special thank you is deserved by Rafael Yusman of the Yeshiva.net for the enormous amount of time and skill he has put into this project to make sure that it should move along. And now it's a mazel tov, a big mazel tov, to those of you who have graduated at this time. It's been a lot of intense and difficult learning, but you have succeeded, and you deserve a very hearty mazel tov indeed. Also, yasher koyach and mazel tov to all of the 117 or so Talmidim, Rabbonim Talmidim, who have accompanied us on this previously uncharted journey. I'd like to make a request of you, of all of our Talmidim, a request that possibly, many of you are making of yourselves at this time. And subsequently, I would like to put forward a new challenge. But let me begin with a Tshuvas HaRashba, Dalet Kuf Pei Zayin. The Rashba describes a debate he had with a Yishmaeli on matters of Emunah, and more specifically on the matter of Mashiach. This Yishmaeli argued that the Nevi'im themselves, the Navi himself, indicates that there will not be a Mashiach for Yidden in the future. He says, does it not say in Chagai, the famous pasuk which we all know, Gadol yeh kvod habayis hazeh ha'achron min harishon, which Beis Hamikdash was contemplated at the time of Chagai, was the second Beis Hamikdash, and the pasuk describes it as habayis hazeh ha'achron. If this is the bayis ha'achron, then it means there will not be any Mashiach, any bias in the future. Says the Rashba, you've got it wrong. Achron can be a relative term. For example, we read that prior to the showdown with Esav, Yaakov vayosem es hashvachis ves Yalden rishonim, ves Leah vilodeha acharonim, ves Rachel ves Yosef acharonim. So we see that although there is one level of Acharon, there can be another Acharon after that. He also brings another pasuk where no less than the Eibishter says to Moshe, V'haya im lo ya'aminu lach, v'lo yishmu l'kol ha'ois harishon, v'ha'aminu la'ois ha'achron. V'haya im lo ya'aminu gam lishnei ha'oises ha'ele. Then what should you do? V'lakachta mimei me'hayor, and you pour it hayabasha, v'hayu ha'mayim ashtikach min hayor, they will become dam by yaboshes. So clearly we see here that there is a makkah, a noise which is described as achrona, and nevertheless there can be an ois after that. The same thing is true with regard to the Batei HaMikdash, concludes the Rashba, that although Chagai says that God liya kvod habayis hazeh ha'achron min harishon, that achron can be a relative term, because indeed there will be Moshiach and binyan bayis shlishi b'mhera v'yomeinu. What has this got to do with us at this graduation? Well, Baruch Hashem, you, our Talmidim, Rabbanim Chashuvim, have received a first ois of recognition, a culmination of a lot of hard learning when you received your smicha. Today, those who are graduating, and also those who are not, are marking the climax of another great step in learning. Today is the Post-Semicha program graduation. The Ois Ha'achron is today. Here comes the request. Please make this Achron a relative one. Please continue to learn the Chayma that we've been learning this year, in addition to what you've learned in previous years and other things you might fancy in the future. Please continue this limud, and indeed to your ability to apply it when you are able. This is something which is very, very important for you, but not only for you. We're living in a time where so many things about us are not only changing, but they're undergoing total paradigm shifts. The way we illuminate our homes, the way we heat them, the way we cook in them, the way we communicate, this is a perfect example, the way we travel, our medical breakthroughs, and things such as cloning, which has already been done with the horse and even an extinct animal, and who knows, maybe we are next. Social norms are also dramatically changing in front of our eyes. And all of this calls for people who are knowledgeable, who are expert in the halacha, and with a knowledge of the facts. People who have the capacity, as you have demonstrated, to master the learning of the tshuvas, and some very long and very difficult ones, from inside the text. More than 200 tshuvas about contemporary issues. And then there are the ordinary things, which have existed for a long time. Most of you will know that the Rebbe retold that a young man came to the Rogatchover and asked for smicha. the Rogatchover told him, go learn Hilchos Beis HaKnesses. Hilchos Beis HaKnesses? He's not going to Faherim on Yeridea. The Rogatchover says to him, listen to this. I can see you're Yerei Shamayim. So if you're going to get a Shaila in Trefus, what will you do? And you don't know the answer, what will you do? Either you'll take the time yourself and look it up and know how to answer, or you might ask someone else. But imagine if on a Shabbos, whilst you're reading from the Sefer Torah, there is a Shaila in the, I made a mistake before, I said Hilchos Beis HaKnesses should be Hilchos Kriyas HaTorah. And if you will, they'll become a Shaila, and as they're learning, there'll be a Shaila in the Sefer Torah. If you're going to have to wait, then you're going to, the Sefer Torah will be in a bizayon, the Rav will be in a bizayon. So I want you now to go and learn Hilchos Kriyas HaTorah. Baruch Hashem, this year, along with all the new things, which was our dominant theme, we also learned the dinim of Torah B'Sefer Torah. We also learned things that relate to chiyuvim and aliyas in a shul, nadavas in a shul. We learned the unfortunate matter of Seder Haget and the matter of Hilchas Avelos. We learned Siddur Kiddushin. These things have more or less been around from time since Matan Torah. But in addition to these are, as the Rogatchover pointed out, are vital for a Rav to have on his fingertips. And in addition to this, we've learned that more than 200 tshuvas mastered, first of all, the knowledge of the poskim. What do they say about contemporary matters? And secondly, mastered the art of learning through tshuvas, even where they are difficult, even where they are where they are long, and even when they apply to technicalities of the contemporary and modern world. So therefore, this is something which is the Ikar Metzius. We have people who have done this learning, and my request of you, for your own sakes and for Klal Yisrael's sake, that this should not be the Post-Semicha, should not be the Achron, the final post, but that your learning should continue, and that the application of this learning shall continue in Mirz Hashem in your Kehillas. And now comes a challenge. We've learned a lot over the past 7 years, covered many different fields, and in depth for those who have been particularly in Stream 1 and have learned all of the texts and been examined on them. The challenge which I want to put forward, and the more of you that will take it up, the happier I will be, and arguably the happier you will be, is that we set a date in the future. Let's make it Tu B'Shvat, when those of you who have learned the texts and have been tested on each of 6 units independently will by then do a thorough chazara and in one sitting take a test of the entire material that we learned this year. If someone is ready by Tishrei, I'll be delighted and he'll be delighted. If someone will want to postpone to Purim or to Pesach, that will also be okay. But roughly 7 months from now, as the first 7 months, let's set a date roughly to B'Shvat, to have chazed all of this material and to be able to take a test on all of it. We won't make the test for 10 hours. It can be a brief test, an hour or so, but over the entire material. This is necessary. Hashikha Mutsuya. And we've learned it relatively quickly, although, yes, in deep. And a big Talmud Chacham recognized worldwide, who I showed one of the tests, said, without mastering the tshuvas, it's impossible to take such a test. But a good chazara and making it part of yourselves will go a long way for yourself, and again for Klal Yisrael, because this way, in Mirz Hashem, you will be able to be one of the strong Rabbonim that we need in this time of dramatic change. So a request, a mazel tov first of all, for all, a request of all that today should not be the last day of studying, of learning this material, and a challenge for those of you who have actually been tested in Stream 1 on all of the material to have a retest on all of the material in about 6 months. And with all of this, on Tefillah, that we should see the true Torah Chadasha, which meditates b'mhera v'yameinu mamash.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Levin. I'd like to now introduce a student from the second stream who participated in the program to share with us some thoughts. We have Harav Levi Wolf. He's a well-respected and beloved rabbi in the largest shul in the southern hemisphere, called the Central Shul Sydney, for the last 15 years. This is a shul that has over 1,300 families as members, and it's the largest shul in such places as Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Argentina, Brazil, and we're very honored to have him share with us some thoughts. Rabbi Wolf.
Shalom Aleichem from Sydney, Australia. Rabbi Feitel Levin asked me to share a brief message with the Chaverim here on the Post-Semicha group. Firstly, can I take the opportunity to personally thank Rabbi Levin, who is a tremendous, if not one of the greatest sources of halachic matters in today's world. I have the opportunity and the privilege of communicating with Rabbi Levin almost weekly, seeking advice on halachic issues, and for that I want to say a very big yashikayach. I also want to take the opportunity to say thank you to a dear friend, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, who is a reservoir of inspiration. Your ideas and thoughts are often shared here in Shul, and I grace and dank from all of your fellow shluchim around the world. I think one of the most important things, one of the greatest things that we shluchim rabbanim need to do is make time to learn. In order to be able to inspire others, one needs to be inspired themselves. How fortunate, how lucky are we to be able to be part of this idea that has been placed at our fingertips, where Rabbi Levin teaches us inyanim which really require months and months, or certainly weeks of preparation, just to go through those classes and those subjects. The greatest challenge all of us have is making time. And there can't be anything greater than to fill that time with studying matters like this. It's all over the sichos, in Maimarim, in the Michtavim, where the Rebbe encourages each one of us to sit and make time to learn, in addition to Chitas HaRambam, that is a given. I think of my grandfather, Al Shalom, Rebbe Ephraim Wolf, who was an asken and a very busy person in Eretz Yisrael. And when I think of him, the memory of always finding the time, no matter what was going on in his life, in middle of his day for 2 hours of sitting and learning. Personally, the middle of the day doesn't work for me. Everybody has their times that work for them. I remember when Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, who came to visit our shul recently, And I took the opportunity to ask him, where did he find so much time to write? I mean, the guy writes books like we take out a Sefer Torah here in Shul. Every month in Donnerstag there's another book. And he told me that the key is to find the most productive hours of your day and to lock away those hours. And it's those few hours, he says, that he tells his office, he tells his family he's not available, and he absolutely focuses on that. Macht sich weg von der ganzen Welt, and it's there that he's focusing on learning. For myself, like many shluchim that are on this forum, I still have young children. Like all of you, I have a busy office. And after I send my children to school every morning, before I come into the office, I close myself up for at least an hour, where I don't take anything, and I do only nothing but learning. And what works for me is I usually take Rabbi Levin's classes in two. I split it up, and I do it over 2 days. I think that one of the greatest hour of my day would have to be the learning that I've been privileged to be part of on this group. And I want to encourage each of you to take it as serious as you do. And on behalf of everybody that's here, I want to thank you, Rabbi Levin and Rabbi Jacobson, for organizing all this. And may Hashem give you the ongoing strength and koyach and resources to be able to give us what you do. Grace and dank. Kol hakavod.
Thank you, Rabbi Wolf. The first stream were those that participated in the program by also learning the chayim or the tshuvas inside and getting tested on it. And it definitely took a lot of determination and a lot of consistency to participate in such a level. And for those that did it, I'm sure would agree that it was well worth the effort. And representing this stream, we'd like to ask Harav Shmuley Lipsker to please share with us some thoughts.
Good evening to all, and to all my fellow participants in the graduation of Post-Semicha 5775. There was once a man who was making a bar mitzvah for his son, and he wanted to give an aliyah to his old-time chavrusa. He calls him up, he invites him to come for the bar mitzvah and to give him an aliyah. And his friend tells him, "I'm sorry, but I never told you, I'm not Jewish." So his friend responds, "How could I be? We've been learning Gemara for the past 10 years. He says, "I know, but I love learning Gemara, it's very intellectual, but I'm not Jewish." So he responds, "How are you keeping Shabbos all this time? It's not allowed." He's like, "I know that. I always make sure to keep a pair of keys to my house in my pocket wherever I was walking." He's like, "But I'm sure you know there's an Erev in this town." He's like, "Yeah, I don't hold up that Erev." I actually tell my friends that ask me about the program, I say, I'm so happy that I've joined this program this year. It just caused me and put us in the position that we just need to cover so much ground and learn so much and get so much out of it. I remember, right when we started the program, I told my chavrusa that I felt like I was walking down the street faster, with the feeling that there's not a moment to be wasted in order to keep up with this program. But the main thing why this program is so special and what I really gained so much from it is how practical and relevant the topics are, especially covering such a wide range of topics, anything from life cycle, Shabbos, electricity, women's rights according to the Torah, autopsy, you name it. When friends ask to describe to me about the program, the best way I can label it is that it's just an all-practical program. It's always so pleasant to speak with friends or people in Miftzayim or whoever about what I'm learning. It's interesting because the thing we just learned either happened to them, their friend, or it's something we should just thought about what does Torah hold about this thing. Especially that Be'ez Hashem, I plan on going on shlichus, I feel that this is one of the best ways I can prepare myself by getting familiar with everyday occurrences according to halacha. Before I go to my finishing point, I would like to thank my fellow chaverim, my new chaverim that I made over this program, who doing stream 1, for all their support throughout the year. I felt that we all took interest in each other's success, always discussing the topics together, seeing where each other are holding, and keeping each other motivated to keep up with the program in the best way possible. Thank you. Last but not least is how much care I experienced in the course of the program. It wasn't like I thought it would be. A mass corporate production with Kananahara, over 100 people, many of them shluchim, etc. Rather, it was with individual care and attention. And we really felt like Rabbi Levin cared for each one of us and each one of our personal success in the program. And that really helped us tremendously. You showed us how much we can really accomplish in a short amount of time and how to utilize every moment. And that's a very important value which I'm most thankful for, and I will definitely take along with me as the program comes to an end. At this point, I would like to give a big thank you to Rabbi Jacobson for your amazing classes on public speaking, and especially for creating, together with your great team of Yeshiva.net, this unbelievable, beautiful program, which myself, amongst many others, gained, and many more to gain. Thank you very much. Wishing you all a healthy summer, Aslacha Rabbah, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Rav Shmuley Lipsker. Before we introduce our last speaker, I've been advised that there were certificates of contemporary halacha. Those will be sent out in the near future to those that participated in the program, took the tests, and passed the tests. And there's also certificates of participation for those that partook in it in a meaningful way. For our last speaker, we'd like to first thank Rabbi Jacobson for helping with this program and making it happen. Rabbi Jacobson also doesn't need much of a introduction, but he's been a mashpia for thousands of anash, of shulchim, of bachrim, of not anash, and tonight we'd be honored to hear from him as well. Rabbi Jacobson.
Bruchim Abayim and Mazel Tov, I want to welcome our more than 120 graduates at this Chag HaSmicha of the Yeshiva.net's Post-Semicha program, where over the past year, more than 120 students globally have delved into contemporary halacha, the major halachic issues facing the Jewish world today, under the masterful guidance and leadership of our great halachic authority and teacher, Rabbi Feitel Levin Shlita. Congratulations to all of you for a year of diligence, for a year of learning, for a year of atzlocha. May you and we go from strength to strength. People ask me, why have you undertaken on yourself to do this Post-Semicha program on the Yeshiva.net? And I'll tell you, I've noticed, especially my travels around the world in recent years, that sometimes many of us and many of our communities and many of our leaders are lacking a real and thorough, comprehensive knowledge of Torah, especially Nigla and particularly Halacha. To be sure, we have great rabbis and we have great spiritual leaders, men of inspiration, of an integrity, people who inspire and guide and mentor and so on and so forth, and it's amazing and it's incredible, and they're doing incredible work. But there's often a lack in Poshet Kenan learning, in really mastering Torah and mastering Halacha, and really knowing it well and in a very practical and contemporary way. And I think it affects many of our children and our students. Their value system is compromised. And many of us don't realize in the way we should be able to, we should realize the centrality that Limud HaTorah and Yediyas HaTorah plays in the Jewish history, in the Jewish mind, in the Jewish heart, and in Jewish consciousness. When Reb Sa'ad Yagon, who writes in the 900s in one of the first philosophical works of Judaism, Emunahs V'Deis, beliefs and ideas, and he's confronted by the great question, when Jews are dispersed around the world, what really binds them? Are they still one people? When you're living in one land, the land makes you a nation. You have the Australians living in Australia, following the Australian constitution. You have Americans and you have Italian, you have French, etc. But when you're dispersed around the world, as in the days of Reb Saadia Gaon, so you don't have the same national identity that binds you. You don't have the same military. You don't have the same political system. You don't have the same sovereignty. You're not living in the same state. What binds you outside of memories of a glorious past? And the Reb Saadia Gaon answer was and remains, Umasenu einenu uma ki'im b'toiroi seha. The very fabric that identifies and binds our nation as one cohesive, integrated people is the Torah. And yet very often in our value system, we may speak about Torah, but the real centrality that Torah holds as the core, as the glue, as the neshama, as the heart, and as the brain of the Jewish people, in the past, in the present, and the future, is often compromised. But when a rabbi, a layman, is entrenched in Torah, in learning Torah and in teaching Torah, masters Torah, kocht sich in Torah, lives with Torah, and knows Torah, especially halacha, it's a different story. It's a different Rav, a different rabbi, a different teacher, a different father, a different younger man, a different ben Torah. I once saw that when the Alter Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya v'Shulchan Aruch, he would learn with his close students, so they would often hear him say this: Lamer learn in the Mishnah. Let's learn the Mishnah. Lamer zen was the Gemara zakt. Let's see what the Gemara says. Lamer zen was Rashi zakt. Let's learn Rashi. Let's see what Rashi says. Lamer zen was Tosfos zakt. And then he would open a Shulchan Aruch and says, Und jetzt Lamer zen was der Eibishter will. And now let us examine, let us discover what Hashem wants. Halacha was not just the text that discusses the practical law of Jewish life. What the Alter Rebbe was saying is, he was conveying what is the neshama of halacha. We have learned the Mishnah and Gemara and the Sugya, and now let's see, what does Hashem want? That is halacha, the way the Alter Rebbe conveyed it. Tell you an interesting anecdotal story, but it contains a lot. I heard this Maisa from Rabbi Levi Weinberg Schlitte in Johannesburg, who's a Rav in Johannesburg, or a Shkoilel in Johannesburg, has a Rabbanis program in Machen Lohira, a Rabbanis program in Johannesburg. And he told me that when he was a Koilel younger man, and he decided to dedicate years to study Halacha L'Maisa, of course, Smicha and Dayanis, Choshe Mishpatev, and all the Chelke Shulchan Aruch to really get involved, and he wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and he notified the Rebbe about his decision, and he asked for guidance and counsel and a bracha. And the Rebbe agreed to it, and the Rebbe wrote 2 words afterwards: V'havaya yatzlichai. Now, the fact that the Rebbe should write V'Hashem yatzlichai was very common, and Hashem should give you atzlacha. Here he wrote V'havaya yatzlichai. And right when he told it to me, I noticed in my mind the difference. And then he told me that his father, Rabbi Yosel Weinberg Alav Hashalom, pointed it out to him and said, he changed from V'Hashem Yatzlichai to V'Havaya Yatzlichai, based on the famous discourses in Chassidus, that all Torah is Hashem. But the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, David HaMelech V'Hashem Imoi Shahaloche Kemoisoi. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim. The Gemara says in Erev, and all the opinions and views of Torah, divrei Elokim Chaim. But Elokim is Lashon Rabbim, it's plural, as it says in the introduction of Tanya, because Torah has so many facets and perspectives and dimensions. Beis Shammai is Gvura and Beis Hillel is Chesed. And you have Rabbi, and you have Reb Yosef, and you have Rav, and you have Shmuel. And you have Reb Meir, and you have Reb Yehuda, you have Reb Yossi, you have Reb Shimon. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim. Every view of Torah expresses a truth of divinity, a truth of godliness. There's so many different aspects, and each aspect is a legitimate expression of godliness. But then there is V'Hashem imoy Shem Havaya Shahaloche Kemoisai Vos vil der Eibishter. It's not just a truth in some particular reality and world, but it's the truth of reality. What does Hashem want me to do today in this particular situation? This is the glorious world of halacha. Or the way the Baal Shem Tov put it, halacha is an acronym of the pasuk Hariu LaHashem Kol Haaretz. Let the whole world, let the whole globe sing out to Hashem. Because essentially, what is halacha? Halacha is basically synchronizing, fine-tuning the physical world to the divine music. If the physical world is a harp, is a violin, It's fine-tuning the world. Halacha is basically implementing the Ratzon Hashem in how you tie your shoelaces, and how you cut your nails, and how you get dressed, and how you eat, how you behave in intimate issues, and how you handle in your business. It's basically allowing the world to play out the music of the divine plan. Hariyu l'Hashem kol haaretz. Not v'Hashem yatzlichai, but v'Havaya yatzlichai. There's something else about halacha. It's the ultimate grounder of Judaism. Very often we get involved in inspiration, in machshava, in hashkafa, in chassidus, in nister. Amazing, incredible, beautiful. One search for Rabbi Pshat, it says in Zoyar, Torah without yira and ava, without awe and love, it doesn't soar upwards. Torah needs ava v'yira. So Chassidim used to say, some people, there's no Torah, there's no ava and yira, you soar upwards, but there's no grounding. Halacha is ultimately what grounds the Jew and what grounds the spiritual Jew. I'll tell you something personal. I haven't always understood this. As I get a little older, I'm not an old man, I'm still a baby, but as I get older, I understand this. That ultimately, people may be well-versed in the spiritual works of Judaism, really well-versed. When they don't master halacha, there's something off about their teachings. It's subtle, but you can sense it. There's just something that's not grounded about it. There's something missing in the real world. They may have Shem Elikim, they don't have Shem Havaya. I found something very interesting. The Rebbe was a Talmud of the Rogatchover Gaon. And what I mean by a Talmud is not only did they have correspondence, and he was a student, and he received from him letters, and he learned his Torah, but he emulated his style. He always spoke about his teachings. He delved into his teachings. He discussed them. He built on them. And he once wrote in a letter that his shitta of learning tries to reflect the shitta of the Rogatchover. And one of the basic components of that shitta is that even minute technical halachas ultimately must be stripped from their physical incarnation and traced back to the conceptual yisoid, what it represents. In other words, halacha is based on abstract principles in philosophy, in ruchnius, in psychology, in spirituality, in issues of soul, the relationship of God and the world, questions of machshava, and then it manifests itself in halacha l'maisa. Right? So you'll have the machloikas between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel, and a technical halacha will be a machloikas if Torah is about heaven or Torah is about earth. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, do we view reality from its first perspective, or do we delve deeper into reality? Do we view potential? Do we view actuality? Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, do we look at the present? Do we look at the future? I'm just giving a few examples of how the Rebbe saw a lot of their machloikas in their lishitoses, etc. Rabbi Gamliel and the Chachamim, kamos, eichos, quantity and quality. Often when he would discuss a chikira question, he would almost always say, but what's the nafkamina? What's the ramifications? So here is the nafkamina between this chakira and the nafkamina even in halacha. And he said, I remember, that when you have a nafkamina in halacha, you know, as mekletet nicht auf a gleiche Wand. You're not climbing a straight wall, which is basically useless, but it's a real thing. Sometimes people get into abstract distinctions and differences. When there's a nafkamina and halacha, when you could show, if you hold this view, this is how it will manifest itself practically. And if you maintain this view, it will manifest itself this way. Then you know that it's a real chakira because it has tangible, concrete ramifications and manifestations. You're not just speaking in the luften. And that's one of the great contributions of halacha. Not only as a rav who has to paskin b'poil. That's obvious. That goes without saying. That's the ultimate purpose. You should be able, leidas hamaisa sheyasin, you should be able to know what to do, and you should be able to guide others, which all of you are involved in that in some form or another. But even on a deeper level than that, it's not just knowing what to do. The whole Yiddishkeit is channeled, it's filtered, it's harnessed. Heaven is brought down to earth, and the person is more grounded. The combination between Nister and Nigla, between Kabbalah and Halacha, between Chassidus and Shulchan Aruch is literally Neshama and Guf, soul and body. Zois HaTorah Adam. And when you have a soul without a body, You have great spiritual heights, but the world gets nothing out of it. And if a soul starts preaching to people who have bodies, there's something off about it. And when we don't know halacha, and when we don't master halacha, that's what our speeches sound like. There's something off. There's something subtly off. There's another major point, and that is today the world is fertile for Molo ha'aretz deyes Hashem. Mekanayim in the Welt. The world is thirsty, the world is yearning for depth, for wisdom, for Torah, for chizuk, for inspiration, for emunah. But the only real successful way to be able to conquer the world, to be able to inspire the world and the whole Jewish world, is through people who know and are pkiyim in Torah. They can learn it, especially halacha. When somebody gets up and he knows a siman in Shulchan Aruch, he knows a Shach, he knows a Taz, he knows a Pischei Teshuva, he knows a Bekiveger, he knows a Nigris Moshe, all the Shilas and Shuvas you have worked in Rabbi Levin at Eich Gemutzet for a whole year. It's a different sheet, it's a different presentation. You command a different respect, and most importantly, you build a different trust, a different loyalty. A person feels the authenticity, a person feels the thoroughness, a person feels the comprehensiveness. So our goal is to expand it and expand it and expand it even more, and really create a platform where young men and older men from all streams and all parts of the planet, whatever you're involved in, this type of leadership, this type of rabbanos, everyone lefum shira delay should be able to have a platform where you could learn and steig and master halacha and halacha l'maisa in all fields, deeper and thorough, in a thorough fashion, in a deep fashion, and in a broad fashion. And this is the moment to give on behalf of all of the students a great and profound gratitude to Rabbi Feitel Levin Shlita, who really dedicated himself with such selflessness and diligence throughout the year to mentor all of the students and to prepare such high quality, successful, profound, thought out, and clear shiurim. But especially I want to thank all of you who have trusted us and have joined the program, and many of you who have done so well, and I know worked very hard, 5, 6, 7 hours a day, and sometimes more than that, to be able to master all of the texts. And all of you who have joined according to your time schedule, some of you are very busy people, and I commend you. And I say to you, Yasher Koichachem, that you understood the priority of Torah in your life, and you set aside time once a day, once a week, a few times a week, to be able to listen to the shiurim, to be able to internalize to the shiurim, to be able to memorize the shiurim. It's a schus for me. It's a schus for us. It's a privilege for the yeshiva.net that all of you, priceless gems, I know some of you personally, priceless gems and beacons of light and inspiration that have joined the program, Lilmoid Ulalamid, Lishmoy Velasas. And I want to request of you tonight that you should suggest this program to your friends, to your colleagues, to your relatives, to your children, to your nephews, to community members who are suitable for it. Chavre Islay, as you know, this coming year, Tovshin Ayin Vav, we're expanding the program. Rabbi Levin is reopening his famous Smicha program virtually. So Talmidim Mitziyonim, exceptional students, can delve into Smicha in an unprecedented, unparalleled fashion with the high standard of Rabbi Levin, where you're going to come out really mastering the halachas of Smicha and also practical rabbinics. In addition to that, we're continuing with the post-Smicha program. So we have a Smicha program, we have a post-Smicha program, and we created a special website, rabbinics.theyeshiva.net. That's RABBINICS, rabbinics.theyeshiva.net. There, all the streams and options are available for people to read about it, to register, to get in touch with us. Please share the link with people that you know. Share the link with other rabbis, with colleagues, with shluchim, with friends, with family, with anybody you think who could benefit. We have the 2 tracks, the harder track and the easier track. The harder track for those who have more time and really will master the tests and take all the exams and master all the text, and the easier track where you make your own schedule and you listen to the shiurim according to your own schedule and you learn what you can according to your own pace. Please send it on, pass it on. Let's make this a success story until the moment of Molo Ha'aretz Deyes Hashem. The world will be filled with divine knowledge. Kamayim Layom Mechasim Bimheira Biyameinu Mamish. Thank you very much, and Mazel Tov.